more damning claims have been made about the Church of Scientology. Last night, Today Tonight aired a worrying report about the Church's controversial activities.
Well, the focus was on Mike Rinder, a senior Scientologist who left the Church and suffered the consequences.
I knew as I was walking out of this building that was the last time that I would ever talk to my wife. It was the last time I'd ever talk to my children. It was the last time I'd ever talk to any of the rest of my family.
It's also a church that has an aggressive attitude to outsiders. One of the main charges? That it spies on people who dare to scrutinise it.
I don't know what you're talking about. It
Nothing to do with
you're
you.
getting a bit paranoid.
We're being followed again. It's a black Nissan. One of the reasons critics call it a cult is what they do with your darkest secrets. What are you seeing? What are you looking at?
Marty sitting in the chair, the e-meter, and on the opposite side of the table, Tom Cruise holding the cans and the whole thing. So, I mean, I saw those videos.
And did they include personal things?
Absolutely.
Things that Cruise would not want people to know?
Absolutely.
Today Tonight reporter Bryan Seymour is no stranger to these sorts of claims. He's done around 40 television reports on the Church and has interviewed most of the people we've just seen. He's with us this morning. Good morning to you.
Morning, Casey.
We've seen the lengths the Church will go to stop anyone from criticising them. Have they followed you? Have they done the same thing?
Yeah, they followed me extensively. They sent a cameraman out, a young guy named Chris, to film me last time I did a story on them. When I was in Los Angeles, Florida, Seattle, they followed me in cars. They knew where I was staying, knew what flights I was on.
What have they got to hide?
Well, not so much as they used to, because of all the stories that have been done over them in the past few years, but things like coercing members to have abortions, putting children to work, separating families, a whole host of things that once were hidden, but now increasingly are becoming common knowledge.
Auditing. Tell us more about what auditing is.
Auditing's their form of spiritual counselling. That's what they call it. But basically, it's one-on-one therapy, and there's an auditor, and there's a machine called an e-meter, which is basically a very primitive kind of lie detector. And you hold these two cans that measure your body's electrical charge, and this needle floats around, and based on the questions and answers, you are cleared of negative thoughts, and you pay for this service. You pay for everything in Scientology.
Wow. Now, as a reporter, you've been following them for years and years. You've been relentless. You've been like a dog with a bone with this. Why? Why? Have you got a bit of a vendetta against them?
No. I've done more stories than I personally would have liked to have, but how do you say no to a mother who comes to you and says, look, I haven't seen my daughter for 5 years? Or a woman who says, look, I was abused as an 11-year-old and a senior church official told me to lie to the police. Or a man whose 2 daughters died, one who was 8 and one who was younger, and he was convinced to lie to the coroner about what had happened to protect the church. What do you do? What do you say? Yep. That's the reason I've done all these stories. I did a few, and then more people came to me, and more people came to me, and it's an important story.
Yep.
Have they tried to convert you?
No, they haven't. Okay. Well, early on there were attempts, but I'm agnostic. Yep. I don't believe or disbelieve in any particular religion or faith. So, no.
What about the last month, the amendment to the tax laws came into play, meaning that churches, such as the Church of Scientology, have to prove they do more good than harm. What's the significance of that change?
Well, what it means is that both sides of Parliament support this. We're going to get a charities commission like they have in the UK and in New Zealand. And in the UK, Scientology isn't a religion. It's not a charity. They're required to pay tax. At the moment, in Australia, they are recognised as a religion. We were the first country to recognise them as a religion. So they don't pay tax. This will then look at whether they do more harm than good. And if they do, then logic would suggest, and this new law will suggest, that they should pay tax.
Okay. Yeah, and at least bring some transparency.
Absolutely. Their accounts have to be audited.
All right. Okay, Brian, good to see you.
Thanks, you too, Koshi. Thanks,
Mel.
On the way, Taylor Swift admits hooking up with John Mayer.